Hey fam, it's your girl. We're back. How many of y'all know that whenever you are facing adversity, that is, the devil is best trying to get you to give up, to make you so frustrated that you will give in and just say, forget it. And most times, most people will do that, but not your girl. Whenever I'm facing adversity or just things that are so crazy, like so hard, so much adversity, that is my cue, honey. I'm telling you today that that is your cue to continue, to push, to don't quit, to move forward. Um, and that is what I feel like this gentleman has done tonight. All the adversity I'm feeling to get this video and get this message out to you on this Don't Be a Crab Tuesday, honey. What is Don't Be a Crab? It is the buckets, honey, and the crabs in the barrel that pull each other down. No, don't be a crab, baby. Help somebody else get up. You get up and then help somebody else get up. Yes, that is what we're doing. That is what today represents. It's Tuesday. Don't be a crab Tuesday. And our feature today is Mr. Casey Muze. The name of today's show is The Healing Journey of a Once Muted, Anxious Little Boy. This story is inspiring. I pray that you get something out of it. It's something for the whole family. You know how your girl do. I'm bringing you that good information. So this is what we're doing. Okay, family, let's go. All right, fam, it's about that time. Hey, fam, it is your girl, Michelle Franklin, Miss Michelle Allen Franklin, Mrs. Michelle D.I. Why? For divine intervention, honey, because you know that there are no coincidences in this world, only God's divine intervention in our lives. And Mrs. Community Builder, why? Because you know your girl is giving you that good information that you need, honey. The people that you need to know in the street. And who do you need to know in 2024? Mr. Casey Muze, honey. Yes, that is my special guest today. He is here. I am so excited. He has a new book out. He is going to tell us all about why you need to have drumming. Yes, drumming as therapy in your life, honey. We're going to get into it. Let's bring Mr. Casey Muze on, honey. Here we go. Casey, welcome.
What's up? What an introduction that was. Holy mess. Ooh, shout out to you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Casey and I met was that last month? I guess it's the last month, beginning of the month, last month.
It was
was it
now,
February?
yes.
Yes. I know. Time is moving on by. It seems like it's been longer, right?
I don't even know. Part of me wanted to say the beginning of this month. Part of me wanted to say January, but January doesn't make sense. It sure.
I think it was. But nevertheless, we met at the Black Expo. Oh man, the first annual Black Expo was amazing. I saw Casey there with his drums. Oh my goodness, he had the children there. The children were amazing. He's using therapy to help these babies. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna talk all about it today, but we're gonna roll it back. Come on back, Casey. Tell us who you are out in these internet streets so the people can know who you are. Who are you, Casey?
Oh shoot. I am a lifelong practitioner of drumming for mental health and holistic counseling and therapeutic approaches. I am now a published author, as there will be a holistic wellness collaboration book released on April 16th. And I have contributed a chapter to that book. But what's so cool and important with this book is the collaboration of 25 holistic wellness providers in the United States. And this book goes all over the place. You can buy it on Audible, digital copy, and you can buy the physical book as well. I don't even know that I left anything out at this point, but yeah, sure.
And I love the title of your book. Casey, tell them the title of your
It,
chapter.
of the chapter, it is the anxious rhythm of the muted black boy. Is the name of my chapter.
I love it. The anxious rhythm of the muted black boy. That title says 1,000 words. It
Yeah,
says 1,000 words.
yeah,
One thing I want to get into, and everyone knows that your girl is always trying to just break the stigma associated with mental health, and
mhm,
especially in us and African Americans, because we just don't talk about it enough.
yeah,
So, can you go back and talk to me a little bit about that little anxious black boy?
yeah. So I think first, what's more important is to talk about the muted portion,
Yes, yes.
because the muted portion has led to the anxious portion, right?
Hmm.
The muted portion of the idea that, well, mental health not being talked about and not being advocated for in the Black community, and the one thing that is advocated for is us to simply press on, deal with it, and build a
Yes,
bridge, and just continue to go forward. And then we look up a lot of times and we have all of these mental inadequacies because we don't have or never were taught what it looks like to speak about what is going on internally, only
hmm,
the external problems and only the external incapabilities, but not the nervous, systematic central nervous system that is built up and pent up,
yes,
led to all of PTSD, led to
yes,
all of the anxiety, led to all of the depression. And then all of these things travel cyclically
yes,
within our spirit and within our health being and within all of the things that take place cognitively as well. So the mind, body, and soul simply,
yes,
right?
yes,
But then elaborating on those things in detailed fashion, none of the things that we were taught as children for the most part, right? And then even as we grow older in cultural norms of society, the act of just simply pressing forward is still advocated for, right?
hmm,
So I, thinking and like I know that ADHD, specifically well, so going back, right? Fun fact. So ADHD is diagnosed in Black boys the highest amount in primary education system. And digging into why that exists is something I'm not going to do. But I will tell you that it is one of these things that we call the neurodivergency, such as autism, Down syndrome, ADD, ADHD, and dyslexia, right?
yes,
And those are some of the highest undiagnosed things that we can go through, right? Um, Later on in life, for women, autism is not diagnosed until later for the most part, right?
hmm,
But one of the things that is a key facet of those things is cognitive functioning and cognitive mobility. And one of the most wonderful ways to tap into that is the bilateral approach, which
yes,
is one of the true art forms that is truly bilateral is drumming. And so bilateral meaning tapping into the left side of your brain and the right side of your brain at the same time for cognitive functioning. And this does so much to physiological health and to regulate your central nervous system as well. So bringing this to the forefront and shedding light on this in Texas, specifically East Texas, that's what I do through drumming.
I love it. I love it. And for those of y'all that are not aware, um, neurodivergent is, I just have a little definition here. Um, Neurodivergent, it said, isn't a medical term. It
Mm,
said it's used as a way to describe people using words other than normal and abnormal.
right.
But it said that's important because there's no single definition or normal for how the human brain works. I love that because
Right.
we have, again, breaking that stigma,
Mhm.
associated There's no normal way for how the human brain works. It goes on to say, Casey, the word for people who aren't neurodivergent is neurotypical. That
Mm,
means that their strengths and challenges aren't affected by any kind of difference that changes how the brain works. And so
right.
again, you were talking about, having these various diagnoses. And this is really near and dear to my heart. My daughter is diagnosed with ADD. And so it's not that our babies are, any different or, again, not normal. It is just that they have a different way of their brain working, and it takes a different
Mhm.
way for them to process. But you talking about the smartest and the brightest children.
No, for sure. For sure. And the most aware and just observant
Yes,
individuals that exist, right? They are
yes,
observant and aware in places that are very detailed oriented,
yes,
right? And for speech and color sensory and just pattern organizing, right?
yes,
And what is so crazy about these things is they are more in tune to how you feel than you are as an individual person, right?
yes,
They can tell by your vocal tone going up and down, and you may say like, and a lot of times I get the backlash or the argument or the rebuttal that, oh well, I can do the same thing too. Part of the barrier is you are already in fight or flight or defense mode just by me presenting this education to you, right?
yes.
And usually they are not. A person that is neurodivergent is not, because they're usually ready to listen and be observant to what you need.
I call the givers of the world the helper bees of the world. So
Yeah,
I'm looking at these babies as like these are the little helper bees
yeah, yeah, for sure.
of the world. When I think of my baby girl and being younger at a very, very young age, and I'm talking like 18 months, I can remember going through some things and I can remember crying, and that baby was wiping my tears, like,
Yeah.
and it was almost like she was there and comforting me. It's just kind of what you're describing.
Hmm.
And I remember that very distinctly, that she had this little characteristic as even such a young age of like 18 months.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
And at that point, of course, didn't know about any diagnosis or anything, but just the way that she pays attention. And a lot of these children, like you're saying, are because the sensory is elevated.
Hmm.
All of the sensory is elevated. And so I love that.
Yeah.
Now, go back a little bit to your childhood, and I want you to talk a little bit about how did you know drums? Like, when did you pick that up, or how did that happen for you?
So drumming has been in my life since the age of 2, right?
Hmm.
And it was through pots and pans, and then it has just progressed and elevated, and rhythm and drumming has always just stayed in my life. I discovered drumming in a space to assist me with anxiety and depression whenever I was about 20, and I lived in Dallas, Texas, and I was going through anxiety and depression through circumstances of not knowing where life was going to go, or just general feeling like I was inadequate because I didn't have purpose, or I didn't have direction, or because I had lost a particular season in my life. So, in a sense, and not really even in a sense, I was grieving the loss of a job and a loss of a career and a loss of a potential desire that I had searched for and seeked after and worked so hard for years. And the complete change of what my life looked like had added to my anxious tendencies and mentality and depressive thoughts, and just not really feeling like I had people to support that either, because I had also went through a change of my social dynamic. And so grieving the loss of my social dynamic and then trying to figure out what all of that looked like, I discovered drumming for mental stimulation through going in the process of all of that.
You know what? You said something really significant, Casey. The grief is simply a loss. And so a lot of people think that, you have to have someone to pass away in
Mhm.
order to go through the stages of grief. And
No.
that's one of the things I just love and I like to shed light on is that grief is simply a loss. It's a
Mhm.
loss of a friend. It's a loss of, friendships. It's a loss of, like you said, the thoughts of where is my life going? And it,
Mhm.
all of a sudden go somewhere else. What am I going to do?
And
Those valley moments that we have.
yeah, it is as small as the loss of losing a piece of paper that had significant information to you,
Yes.
right? So like if you wrote a poem on a piece of paper,
Yes.
you started that journey of doing that, and then you lose that piece of paper, understanding that it is possible for you to go through a small portion or a big portion of grieving because
Yes.
you lost that piece of paper and you don't know where it is.
Exactly, because it's tied to a purpose or it's tied to your gift,
Yeah,
that you feel like this is all that I have and now it's gone.
yeah.
I love that, the simplicity of it because it is just that. And I need for people to understand and get the simplicity because there's so much judgment. And again, there's so much stigma. And a lot of times what I realized for myself,
Mhm.
Casey, is when I was in this valley of depression,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I was in it for so long because I was actually grieving. I thought it was just depression, but
No,
depression is a stage of grief.
yes.
And so, go ahead and speak to it.
Yeah, and well, so I have this way. So at all times for mental health, right, is it's always beneficial to change the way you think about the situation that you're in, right? So like with depression, people like to always say, I'm depressed right now, right? And if you know through biblical context is this too shall pass,
Yes.
right? So I always like to say I'm going through instead of it belongs to me, or instead of saying things that attach it to me, because when you attach yourself to things that are defeating, that in turn is allowing you to not see the way out as
Yes.
easy as you
Yes.
can continue to say that this is temporary and I'm going through it and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know how
Yes.
far this tunnel
That's right.
is, how long
Yeah.
I'll be in it, but going through something instead of attaching it to yourself always is a win, right? So when you talk about depression, I like to say deep rest in instead of depression.
Yes.
So when you break that word apart and you use the deep rest in, right? A lot of times when you're going through depression, understanding why or what the afflictions are that or were that caused you to go through it or caused you to enter it, because a lot of times you entered into depression and did not know you entered in it. You've been in it for so much longer than what you realize, right?
Yes.
And so allowing yourself to realize that if I rest in it a little bit, then it will allow me the tools to fight whatever is within what it is, right? This
Yes.
is the same thing, similar thing for anxiety and a similar thing for depression. ADD and ADHD are a little bit different. Those dynamics look a little bit different, but
Hmm.
especially for anxiety and depression, resting in what that is and not running away,
Yes.
even though it's hard, allows you to realize why it's there. And
Yes.
realizing why it's there or who caused it to be there or what caused it to be there
Hmm.
are some of the most dynamic tools for you to have.
I always say, in order for you to get through it, you have to acknowledge that thing first, like where you are.
Mhm.
And we're so busy. I call it going and being and doing, Casey. We're
For
so
sure.
busy going to work,
For
doing
sure.
this, doing for the kids, being this person, gotta do this, gotta be, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And we don't take the time to self-reflect. and to
Yeah.
acknowledge our own feelings. And so a lot of people suffer in silence. And
Yeah.
so kind of similarly to what you've done, in the past and getting to your drum therapy was suffering in silence. And
Yeah.
so I know for me, I was suffering for 2 years before I even realized something is wrong.
Hmm.
How long were you in that valley moment before you realized, mm,
Hmm. At least, at least a year and a half,
mm-hmm,
maybe even longer than that. So when I when I had the label placed on me,
mm-hmm,
I was probably about a year and a half to a year and 3/4 into it. And what I will tell you is being completely attached to an idea of having a career that I wanted and desired of being a professional DJ and music producer and all of these things and wanting to make it so high in that space and then having to not be in that space anymore because I wanted to be in that space and live in that journey since I was about 16 years old. So
yeah,
from so 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 5 years, right?
mm-hmm,
And then not being able to live in that space anymore, even though I willingly stepped out of that journey and decided that I didn't need to,
mm-hmm,
still allowed me to experience the loss and the grieving of what that is.
sure,
And it did not come right away. That took some months for me to realize that that is what's going on and did not know how deep it affected me or afflicted me, right?
yeah,
And the combination of knowing that drumming has always been in my background, but then also having a mom that was an educator and taught speech pathology and did things that were along the lines of helping special needs kids, right? And just seeing her work in that special population
yeah,
allowed me to connect dots a little bit differently. So I was really blessed, even in the space of dealing with my anxiety and depression,
mm-hmm,
because I was able to take action with drumming that was differently. Because typically, drumming looks like you playing drums with sticks and it's just fun, right? But so what I did was take it and use it differently and slow it down with some bilateral sensory application. So
yeah,
I added the visual component, right? And then I added the verbal component to it, which looked completely differently. But then also what I need the audience to know is I still took anxiety medication and up until the age of about 26. So even 6 years later, like I moved away from Dallas, Texas, and then moved back to Longview, Texas, and then moved to Nacogdoches, Texas. Like I still, because that just was not there yet, right?
yeah, yeah,
And and then yeah, and then life just afforded me the desire to not to want to take it anymore.
mm-hmm,
And I stopped because one of the things that people need to know is eating the right food, and which is a whole
yes,
other topic, right? But eating
yes,
the right food and having the right daily habit of
yes,
dealing with your central nervous system and dealing with breathing in the right way, like
yes,
all of those things were really instrumental in me to not needing mental health medication anymore. Now, what I'm telling you is this worked this way for me. There are some circumstances to where mental health medication I absolutely advocate for. I'm not one
definitely,
of these pure holistic practitioners that say you
definitely,
should never take mental health medication because I'm also a licensed chemical dependency counselor. So then when you look at no, I'm not saying you should get rid of all your medication. It's
yeah,
not what I'm doing. What I'm telling you is there are more practices to where you can gain back the autonomy and the self action as to what it looks like to gain fulfillment from your life. Right.
Yes, yes. I think that is so important. I teach that as well. I know the benefits
Hmm.
of, natural ways, and I promote those, and that's why one of the reasons why you're here, because I know drumming is so therapeutic, and there are other avenues. But also I feel like there's sometimes, just like in my case as well, where I needed medication.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for
you
sure.
know there is a test that you can take, guys. It is the GAD-7 for anxiety, and it is the PHQ-9 for depression. And if you're 15 or higher on any one of those tests, then that is really not optional at that point. You should be getting. That means that there's some kind of chemical imbalance that may have be going on, and counseling that needs to happen. It's not like Casey is saying, a one size fits all. But at the same time, it's important to know everybody's journey is a little bit different. Don't try to do it at home by yourself. I just call Casey up like, hey, I've been having some anxiety. I want to do some drumming. We want you to do that, but we also want you to see your doctor and
Yeah.
be tested, and do, go through, just a positive therapeutic regimen. I feel like it can be positive when you take control of your journey. And that is the difference, right? And so, one of the other things I just wanted to touch base on really quickly is you are, a licensed counselor and a substance abuse counselor. And we talked about you having your own journey through substance abuse. I think at this point, I've been a nurse for 24 years. And so I've seen this rise in the opioid crisis. I've seen the
Mhm.
rise in alcoholism, the rise in just how people cope. When I divorced from my husband, guess what? I was drinking. I was
Yeah.
drinking, just like Beyonce. I was drinking,
Mhm.
and I think that what happens is that because sometimes it ends up being, just this social thing that happens, and then you don't even realize how quickly that dependency happened. At least I know that's what happened with me. Like I didn't really realize that it was a problem until somebody else said something to me.
Yeah.
And then that made me look, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Because
Yeah.
you don't see it inside the storm, right? You're within. And so can you talk to us a little bit about your journey, and how did you come to one, to recognize that you were even in that storm, right? And then
Mhm.
how did you come on up out of it?
And I know for me, most of that storm, because my usage of alcohol was at its highest, and it affected my central nervous system and my ability to heal with my and deal with my mental health. That's when I realized that I was drinking way too much and needed to take a look at what the consumption was and what I was doing and how I was doing it and what my priorities were. Because it started out as a social thing within the space of music and music production and just living in that social cultural dynamic. And so there were times to where it was higher than what it needed to be, and there were times where I didn't drink as much. I know that in the space of losing the career of professional DJ, and it increased so much. And then also trying to take it with mental health medication. It was like that's a whole different story, right?
Mhm.
Because when you cross the threshold of using substances abundantly, but then still being diagnosed with mental health conditions, um, that gets a little crazy and a little hairy. So then having the courage to not use anymore, or even when you're dealing with like opioids, that's a sticky situation because dealing with the withdrawal symptoms of what that is, and dealing with the withdrawal symptoms of alcohol, if you get that high, it can get really crazy. So in dealing with those things, just I, want to encourage everybody to seek a doctor that you can be completely transparent with
Hmm.
and tell them as much as you use and when you use, and don't sugarcoat it for yourself.
I think that is so significant. I think that that is so significant for for men. That's a very important point, Casey. You have no idea how many men come to the doctor's office, right?
They don't tell the truth.
They don't say, much of anything. They don't want to talk about it. They will act as if nothing is going on.
They,
And
they may say what is currently going on physically, but nothing else.
exactly. And understanding that from a holistic point, if your mind is off, everything else is off. When your body is off, everything else is off. When your spirit is off, everything else is off. When your emotions are off, everything else, they are all working together. And so it really is a holistic approach of what you need to, just think about. When one thing is off, everything is off. And so you going in there and telling half truths or telling part of the story, it's not going to help you. And so I thank you for making that point. Another thing, because I feel like also for parents out there that are dealing with, children that may be going through, it was a period of time in elementary to middle school where my baby girl was being bullied. My oldest was bullied. I think, I'm 46. I remember being teased about my eyes all the time, big eyes and all of the names, you know what I mean? And all of the stuff.
Yeah.
You had a quote that, was from Maya Angelou: those that matter don't mind, and those that mind don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. How did you come to, because it just seemed like, I know you went through a period of time when you were younger, worrying about what other people were saying and that whole piece. How did you come to find this quote and then live it? You know what I mean? Because you can read it all day, but to incorporate it into your life and to live it, and maybe even speak to some parents on how they might be able to help their children get to that point as well.
So I found that quote because my mom used to say it to me all the time as a kid. I can't take full credit for it. But I speak it very prophetically because it's very true, right? And I will tell you that once I started living in my purpose in life and started having time be very important to me about who my time needed to be with, or what I was doing in my time, or how it was delegated. And I started to realize that not everybody is beneficial to my purpose, or really even not every place is beneficial to my purpose.
Yes.
And I began to audit my social circle and really understand who was for me and who was not against me, or whose place or spirit was for me and whose place or spirit was not for me, right? It is really important.
Yes.
It's really important to understand how to audit those energies that you consume. And so I'd have a high tendency to protect my space. And so I do, like, I live that quote, and it's really important to me. And I believe that to some degree, it should be really important to all people. So when you look at that quote, because the time you spend is just, it's one of the most valuable tools you can have. When people say time is the most important thing, that I believe that's a half truth.
Yeah.
I do. I believe that the other component to that is the energy that you use within the time that you were given.
Yes.
Is the other half to that.
I love it. I love it. And so let's go into you coming out of your valley moments, right? You are, you were in this space, you were feeling bad. Okay, I don't have the job. I'm going to have to give up this career. You're shifting into, Lord, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. Right? What am I supposed to be doing? Yeah. And I love how the Lord works, because I feel like
and one more dynamic to
Go
that.
ahead. Mhm.
Alcoholism got really bad at that point.
Oh, I could just imagine.
Yeah.
I could just imagine, because this career that you thought you were going to have is not there. We
Mhm.
use these coping mechanisms. Mine is food.
Listen,
I eat.
listen, cheesecake is wonderful.
Yes, it is. Cheesecake is amazing. And
Wonderful.
so are
Cheesecake.
mozzarella sticks and
Yeah,
French fries.
yeah, yeah, and hamburgers and hot dogs and pizza. Yeah, yeah,
So are mozzarella sticks and French fries. Okay, that was my
yeah.
Anna Brahms. Look, Anna Brahms banana split, and
Yeah. I mean, I like Brahms. Period. It doesn't matter what it is. I just like Brahms.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, so yes, the coping mechanisms, that we use in those valley moments. Again, everybody
Actually,
has something.
it's so funny you say that, because reflecting on that, during that point in time, my workout regimen had I was completely out of whack. And it was the only time in my life that I could look at my physical composition and not be proud of what state it was in.
Wow. Wow. That is amazing. You said earlier your diet makes a difference in your mental health. I didn't understand really truly the importance of that until I started fasting, and then my taste buds started changing, and I started eating and craving more veggies.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that those French fries and mozzarella sticks that I love so much was sitting in my belly and making me tired, on top of the fact of putting the pounds on.
Also, not drinking enough water will make you
Not
tired.
drinking. You definitely don't. Water is not your go-to when you're going and you're in the valley.
Yeah,
That's not your go-to.
it's not. It's
If
not.
it's not alcohol, maybe a good margarita. Like, oh no, it's not liquor. What I want to say, maybe it's a good margarita.
No,
Maybe it's a bottle of wine, but it's something.
So in my space, it was when Four Logos were a thing, and yeah, those were terrible. Yeah, some transparency, right? But I also was, I think my go-to was really just dark beer. I just drank a lot of beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that's a lot of calories and puts on some pounds, I'm sure.
Well, it was either beer or vodka and 7. One of the two, just because my roommate drank a lot of vodka and 7. So drank that with him.
You were laid over.
Yeah.
You were laid over.
Mhm.
I love how just a reflection of what you go to in those valley moments versus what you make a very intentional shift. You know what I mean? Because it's just a very intentional shift that I'm going to do something different. I'm going to make another choice. And I'm just talking to somebody out there that may be in the valley right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's ever too late to make another choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the point, because I mean, we're here to speak truth of ourselves so that we can be a conduit of healing for the ones who we're speaking to, whether it be in person or whether it be in digital platforms that exist here due to our great gifter of COVID.
Yes.
Giving us the wonderful digital everything.
Yes, it really did. It really did.
Yeah.
I love that. So you're in your valley moment. You don't know what's going to happen. I love this. I heard that you get a phone call and somebody is telling you there's somebody else out in the world in California like you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Eddie, how do you say his last name? Tunde? I don't mess it up.
Tundori.
I messed it all up. Tunde.
Yeah.
And I don't know who Tunde is. Eddie Tundori. Hi, Eddie.
Yeah.
That is also into drums, into drum therapy, and had some programs and introduced you to this trapped therapy
Mm,
that you have. Tell us a little bit about that. Let me just say this real quick. One thing I know for sure, like you said, I always use that analogy as well. Like when you're in the darkness, the light is down there. Like if you
hmm.
just keep walking, I don't
Yeah.
know how long I'm gonna be in this darkness or where this light, when it's gonna come, but the light is down there. Just keep walking.
Hmm.
Something is gonna happen.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna call you. It's gonna work out. And so I
And
love that you were in that valley and you got this call.
well, so give some time reference, right? So some years past that, right? That
Mm-hmm.
was when I had started doing education of drumming, and then COVID happened, and then I had to like just kind of figure it all out. And I was just going through the stages of starting my own nonprofit. And for those of y'all who don't know, that's a heavy decision to do, especially the way that I decided to provide it was me and only me. And so like I was just encouraged and a little hard-headed and just do things different than most. Some say it's a blessing, some say it's a curse. I
Yeah.
say it's got me where I am today and allowed me to stand out differently than all other people that have ventured on any journey close to mine of mental health or whatever. So
Yeah.
I'm very blessed for it. But during COVID, I was working a job that was adding to my mental health barriers. Also, in transparency, at that point in time, I had ended another real close relationship of mine, and I was just going through it, just trying to figure life out. And good friend of mine said, "You need to call this guy. You guys have similar hearts." And Mr. Eddie Tundori started trap learning. He's in California, and through a conversation, he vetted me out and said, "I want to talk to you again about possibly providing trap learning, where you typically have to go through a whole training regimen to do so." He said, by the next conversation, he said, "Nah, you got it. You understand." So um, he gifted me the manual and said, "Do what you wish. Go for it." And this
And go ahead.
in and this was in 2019 or maybe 2000. It was 2019. So yeah, it was 2019 in COVID, 2019.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then when I moved to Tyler, Texas, it expanded for me because I took all of the things that I know now and developed percussion pathways and percussion pals, which are my elder care and then my ECE for daycare presentation.
Tell us a little bit more about the trap program, like break down, because I know you have the different tiers and the age groups. Who is it for?
Mm.
Give us a little bit more information and what, diagnosis and different things like that.
It specifically serves our neurodivergent population, so
Yes.
autism, Down syndrome, ADD, ADHD, dyslexia. It is a sensory additive program, so it's what you will catch me saying a lot is what you see, what you hear, and what you feel.
Yes.
So a lot of times in provisions, I will tell you, let me show you what this looks like, what this feels like, what this sounds like. So those are the senses that I add to it, right? So with vision boards and sequencing patterns, there's a portion of it that's sign language engaged as well for the nonverbal autistic and Down syndrome population. And so it's very intuitive into sensory adaptation and considering all of facets that exist.
What I want people to take away from your story that I feel like is so inspiring is you on a path that you thought you were supposed to be on, right?
Yeah.
Music,
Hmm.
producing, and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
God removed you from that position.
He removed me from this is what's so cool. So I think the part that you missed when I
Mm-hmm.
did the presentation at St. Francis is when I talk about God removed me, but he also removed the plethora of drums and music and keyboards that I had and placed a hand drum with me and said, do it with this. And so
Mm-hmm.
what I did and what I found is music not for serving me, because what I was searching for in the beginning was music to make me feel good and
Yeah.
serve me, right? And then what I found is music for therapy to serve others.
Yes.
And that's the space that I live in. And that's the space that I boldly and proudly lived in because of God's provision and his gifts over my life, no matter what you believe in. If it's Buddha, Jehovah, God, Allah, the
Yes.
wind
Yes.
that blows through the trees, Mother Nature, it's simply like I'm here for it all. But what I will tell you is my background says that's God,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
Christ.
Yeah.
So he allowed me to switch and serve others through his gift that lives in me.
So when you became of service or went into stewardship, into service, right?
Hmm.
The gift opened up, like the gift made room for you, right?
Yeah.
It opened up doors that you had no idea
Yeah.
would even come to you. So now,
Mm.
here you are as one of two African American authors. Is that right?
No, I'm the only
You're the
African
only African American, excuse me, only African American author, but one of two in the East Texas area,
the one of two in the Texas area. The
in
other
the
one is
Texas area.
not
Okay.
even he's in Austin, I think, somewhere.
So
But
you're,
so I am one of two in Texas, the only African American overall,
wow,
um, 25 authors, and one of three or four males in this chapter.
amazing, amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. And again, tell us the name of the book, your
The
chapter, the book and the chapter, and your chapter.
so it's Holistic Mental Health Volume 2. And my chapter contribution is the anxious rhythm of the muted black boy. Um, and I've been told it's a dynamic chapter. I've
I
been
know
told,
that's right.
I've been told I mean, because I can say it, but due to credibility
Yes,
and value of it, I have been told I'm going to start doing some promotions. This, like, actually now is what I'm doing, is I'm sitting down trying to figure out what the promotions need to look like, and I'm super excited because I've
yes,
got some stellar personal chapter endorsements that
yes,
are really wordy but really deep and really personal to some people that know me and some people that don't know me. So yeah, I'm excited. And as well as sometime in May, I'm going to be doing a author's signing party. It's
yes.
where I'm going to be having a live reading from my voice
I
and
can't wait.
not the audible voice,
Yes,
but my voice in a live interview and a live Q&A from the audience about the chapter and all the things that exist.
that's
So
awesome.
you can endorse the book now. In fact,
Yes.
I'll send you the link to send out to people if
Okay.
you wish. So what that is you are simply committing to purchasing the book when it comes out, and I think
Yeah.
two other steps as well. But the book, I believe, is 25, but I'll have to look at I think there's some more to it for the people that agree to be be co-signers or be on the promotion team right now.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm excited because it's the beginning of a new chapter for me in writing, period,
Yes.
and telling stories. And because I'm good on the spot with the voice. Like I'm great, but to be able to translate into words on a page
Yes.
takes a little bit more diligent attention,
Yes.
what I'm doing. So yeah, those that process, because even going through the process of writing the chapter,
Mm-hmm.
I did like, I think it was like 2 weeks that I had to write the whole chapter,
Mm-hmm.
which is a lot. to go through that many emotions in 2 weeks
Yes.
to complete a whole chapter, it's a lot. It really is. But it was like, I think when I was done, I was still very just unsure. And then I sent it to the editors and they were like, nope, it's good. Just
I love it.
consider these couple of things, but if you want to, it's good. It's fantastic. So I'm excited. I'm excited for it, and I'm also excited to be in a book that showcases mental health and holistic wellness.
Yeah.
First of all, that I even got the offer and the opportunity to do
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Somebody,
Kind of extra. Yes.
yeah, that somebody deems me worthy enough to sit alongside other holistic providers is ridiculous.
Yes. I love
Uh,
it.
Yeah, it is. It's ridiculous. And then to be a to when the book comes out, and then to be able to sit in space when other providers, and to be able to just see all the things that we do and all the services that we provide for the world,
Yes.
it's crazy. And then to be a East Texas representative, Texas representative,
Yes.
Black culture representative.
Yes. Check, check, and check.
Wow, wow, yeah, for sure.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think the other part of it is to, listening to your journey and to have that period of time in your life where, it probably was some loneliness there. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
I know you went through some time of probably not feeling like you were seen.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so for somebody to see you, you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's not your mama,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's not,
yeah.
you know what I
Although
mean?
although she is my biggest fan, but yeah.
Of
Yeah,
course, I know
yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
I ain't mad at mama, but it's
No,
not your mama. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not somebody that you know, but to have that feeling to be seen,
mhm,
that's a beautiful thing.
yeah. It
That's a
really
beautiful
was. It really was, and it really is. In all actuality, like, um, me and the curators and the people that the publishers, her and I have a wonderful professional relationship. Like, we
Yes,
will talk goals and growth development. It's fantastic. I love it. And what's so cool about it is just the place that it sets me in professionally, to be able to
yes,
network in that space
yes.
is
As an
incredible.
author, you're an author.
Yeah, no, seriously, for sure, for sure. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. Oh my gosh, I love it. Your story is so inspiring. I just love it. Um so I know that feeling of of being in a collaboration. And
Mhm,
so I was in a collaboration, there's only 5 people, but to have that vast amount and to have, your own, like you said, this event that you're going to have in May, please make sure you give us the information so we can come out and support you,
mhm,
and send the links so we could put it and add it on to the podcast,
for sure.
for everything for people to contact you. Now, I want to move into really quickly before we wrap up,
Mhm.
because I just loves me some love. And you have an important date coming up next month. Tell us
Uh,
about this important date that we have coming up next month.
uh, Next April 13th is my wedding day. Yeah, I will
I love it.
celebrate commencement. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, listen, y'all. I do my pre-interviews, and I told Casey, I said, listen, we're gonna talk about the book and we're gonna talk about your journey, but we gotta talk about this love thing because I loves me some love.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm always inspired by, because
Mhm.
it's this myth out there that there are no good men out there, that, this is for the ladies, y'all. I'm doing this for y'all. There's a myth out
Yeah,
there that there are no good men out there,
mhm.
that, we're not getting married anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody is around to commit to you. And
Yeah.
so we broke in and we busting all the myths today. So I want you to tell us about, I love your story about how you met your beautiful fiance now to be wife that's coming up next
Yeah.
month. How did you guys meet?
Um, this was her. It's all her doing. I'm gonna blame her. Yeah. Uh, so in Tyler, for those of you who know Tyler well enough, you know that there are two true bonds. There's a true bond on Earl Kimball, and then there's a true bond on the square. She and I typically go to Truvon on the square because I like the atmosphere more. And a friend of mine went to Truvon on Earl Campbell to watch another friend of ours perform one night, and Kimberly saw me there and was occupied because she was out. She was on a date with someone. Yeah, she really was. And so she didn't do anything because she was on a date. But then about 2, 3 weeks later, we were on a social media platform and she messaged me, and the rest is history. And we met for our first date, and we just she's been that person ever since, man. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Now, I asked you this before, but I want you to tell the people. Tell the audience, because you already told me.
Yeah.
How long were you dating before you proposed to your wife? I'm calling her your wife already. It's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. So she had actually to add. Do you know that Muse is not my last name? Have I shared that
No.
with
No.
you? So do you know what? So my last name is Royal.
Okay.
And so I say that because she did a digital interview for DFW Shout Out. And in this interview, she put her last name as Kimberly Royal. So on the 13th, we are officially going to have the Black Royal wedding.
That's cute.
Yeah. So yeah, it so the day that we get married, it'll officially be, I think, like a year and a month since we met. Since our
Okay.
I think our first date. Yeah.
But when did you know?
I don't think I did. I think it was just a bunch of things that happened. And here's what really happened. I think we developed, and I don't even think I've said this portion to you. I think in this moment, I'm just now realizing that this makes sense. I think that we had started to develop our relationship really deeply due to having hard conversations.
Yes.
And having hard conversations, we got super close, and I didn't want to not be with her. Now, the hard conversations, I'm going to emphasize the hard conversations. Um, 'Cause I remembered what you wanted me to say, but I do know this needs to be said too, though.
Okay.
I do. So it's not just you, because I agree with this wholeheartedly. The hard conversation portion of it, right?
Yes.
In society, we often go into relationships and we show all of the beauty and significance, like all of the road trips and all of the like water parks and all the things, and it just looks
Yes.
so fun. And
Yes.
then we get married, and then after marriage, we have to have a hard conversation, and we don't even know if we like that person anymore. Or we don't even know if
Yes.
we like the circumstances anymore. Or they irritate us so much to the point to where we haven't had practice in having those communication segments, or haven't had practice in being able to tell that person that this annoys me right now, and have
Yes.
that person give good feedback to you saying that this annoys me right now, right? So we have the habit of having hard conversations later that don't turn out so well. So what I decided to do, and this is not anything that I came up with on my own. I've heard this somewhere. I just don't remember where. I think I want to say I told you Dr. Umar said this, but I'm not really even sure if Dr. Umar said that. But I heard this from a credible source where they said, you have hard conversations first and
Yes.
get used to making each other irritated or getting used to having or staging those hard conversations. That way, after you get married, it's not it's more fluid and effortless in the process because you've had a practice in responding to things
Yes.
that are irritating. So you've had practice having those conversations and communication.
Yes. Yes. When you said that, I was like, oh my goodness, I love that so much
Yeah.
because it actually is very, very true. You know what? I'm literally watching this Netflix series called Love is Blind.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why this couple, they broke up. They were all the way almost to the altar.
Hmm.
And the night before the wedding, they had a terrible argument. It was a
Yeah.
really hard situation, and they
Yeah.
could not come back from it. And so
Hmm.
when you said that, I was like, man, that is so important because it's so true. You said, I don't even know if I might like this person afterwards.
Hmm.
And I think that people run from the hard conversations. But one thing I know for sure, and just studying, relationships, studying couples, studying, I've been in nursing leadership for years, and communication is key.
Yeah.
It's key to everything. And so if
Hmm.
you can't have that hard conversation with the one you love, like, and you talking about spending your rest of your life with somebody,
Hmm.
it's not happening. The divorce rate is up because people don't know how to have hard conversations.
Yeah.
And so I just absolutely love that. I was like, we got to talk about that.
Yeah.
They got to be out there. That's amazing. I just love it. I love your journey. I love that everything is just coming together for you. I mean,
So
such a
I
beautiful spirit.
so one of the things that we are, and I say we, I say Kim and I, we're excited about is
Hmm.
on our honeymoon, we are actually recording our very first couples podcast talking about love, communication, relationships, all the things from a
Yes.
therapeutic approach, from a non-therapeutic approach, because we're both in therapy to
Yes.
capacity. So we're and it, I think the name of it. I'm gonna spoiler alert. Now, I'm gonna hate if this is not the name just because I'm gonna say it in the air. But I think the name of it is gonna be called the Royal Musings.
That is super cute.
So
That's super cute. So where's the muse come from? Where'd you get muse? Is that a play on music or
I mean Royal Muse.
muse?
Um, it is a nickname given to me by a group of mentors that were in
Okay.
my
Okay.
yes. Not anything that I chose, not anything that I picked. They specifically replaced the S with the Z. And yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Mm.
I love it. Well, Casey, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Tell the good people how they can get in contact with you. Um, and you have your honeymoon coming up, but how they can schedule with you the individual therapies and group
Yeah.
therapy and all of that stuff. Oh, you know what? Before I ask you this, I'm sorry I didn't ask you your coverage area. Like, I know you're in
Mhm.
Tyler right now, but you cover a lot of areas. So
So
make sure, because I don't want people to think you're just limited to the Tyler area.
I'm not. So I cover all of deep East Texas and East Texas. And so that is like Livingston, Lufkin, Nacogdoches, Center, Longview, Tyler. But I'll also go all the way to Shreveport or all the way to portions in Dallas if you need me. So yeah, I do. I have a large coverage area.
Yes.
That's mainly because I I say I grew out in Nacogdoches, Texas, because that's the place that I lived in whenever I made that pivotal change of
Yes.
provision in my life. So I claim Nacogdoches as my hometown and Longview. So, and I worked a lot in Deep East Texas. But then as I started to build and started to grow, I've gotten tons of clients in Dallas area because they've also told me that there's nothing that is like what I provide in Dallas
Yeah.
area as well. So, and I also do Shreveport because when I did provisions and I lived in Deep East Texas, I did things in Shreveport. So that didn't take their service area away. So
I love it. I love it. And so tell the people how they can get in contact with you now.
yeah, everything is avenuespeak.com. Website is avenuespeak.com. Facebook is Avenue Speak. Instagram is Avenue Speak. You can Google search my name, Casey Muze, if you desire to do it that way. But the easiest way to do it is go to avenuespeak.com. You can fill out the request form to give intention to receive a specific service there, and then I will probably message you within the next 8 hours or so.
All right, guys. So again, drumming really quickly induces deep relaxation, lowers your blood pressure, reduces stress, promotes the production of endorphins. And so again, if you're having depression, anxiety, your mental, that is, you want those good, happy endorphins released. That's what you want, right?
Yeah.
It's the body's
Also,
own morphine like painkillers. Go ahead.
also for our population of age 30 plus, it increases inflammatory toxins. So when I talk about toxins, is it because it increases inflammatory toxins, it decreases the body's ability to have inflammatory sensitivity,
I love that.
or it decreases the amount that your body becomes inflamed or swells.
And why that's important, guys, because if you didn't know, and your girl has talked about this before, inflammation now is the number one killer, the number one silent killer. It used to be high blood pressure, but now it's inflammation. So what he's telling you is that, yep, getting your drumming on, honey, can reduce that good inflammation in your body. And so I love it.
Also decreases blood pressure.
Also decreases blood pressure, reduces stress, helps control pain. And of course, like Casey talked about, those suffering from grief. Drumming and rhythm are powerful tools as they permeate the entire brain. And that's what he was talking about, the left and the right side healing. And so, Casey, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to say to the people while we wrap up?
No.
Your girl covered it all. All right.
Got it.
Thank you, family, for joining your girl. Again, it is your girl, Michelle Franklin, honey, Miss Michelle D.I., and this has been a divine intervention, honey. We got a lot of good information in. That's the community builder in me. You know your girl is always giving you the good information. So we're going to be staying tuned. We're going to get you that information when the book drops, as well as in May for that engagement, that speaking engagement that's going to be coming up, his reading engagement. And so we're really excited for you, Casey. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Amazing conversation. Fam, you know what your girl do, like Mr. Les Brown, honey. I aspire to inspire until I expire, honey. Until we meet again, y'all have a good one.